Picture this, a bright sunny day on the Illinois River. The water is calm. A boat hums gently across the current. A man leans back, maybe thinking this is going to be an ordinary afternoon. And then, out of nowhere, a giant silver flash breaks the surface. A carp, nearly 3.5 feet long, rockets through the air and slams directly into his face. He staggers, stunned. The river explodes. Dozens, then hundreds of fish leap like missiles. Crashing into boat hulls, knocking gear overboard, smacking into people like living cannonballs. The scene is pure chaos. And this, right here, is daily life in waters infested by America's most hated invasive species, the Asian carp. To outsiders, it looks like a freak accident, something rare, maybe funny to watch on YouTube. But for people who live along the rivers of the Midwest, this is no joke. It's a nightmare they've been living with for decades. What started as a tiny experiment in fish farming has become one of the greatest ecological disasters in modern American history. Yet in one of the most ironic twists imaginable, this same monster fish has now spawned a brand new industry worth billions of dollars. How on earth did a hated pest become a global commodity? Let's rewind. Back in the 1970s, catfish farms were booming in the southern United States. Farmers had a problem. Their ponds filled up with algae and plankton, choking the water and stressing the catfish. The solution: import helper fish from Asia. Specifically, big-head carp, silver carp, and black carp. These carp were perfect little cleaning machines, sucking up plankton and filtering the water crystal clear. At the time, it sounded like a clever idea. After all, these fish weren't supposed to leave the ponds. They were supposed to work for us. But nature doesn't play by human rules. Floods swept through the south. Water levels rose. Pond barriers broke. And suddenly, these foreign carp weren't just in farms. They were in rivers. And when they hit the open water, with no predators and endless food, they multiplied faster than anyone could imagine. A single female carp can release over 1 million eggs every year, and those eggs hatch fast, growing into juveniles that devour everything in sight. Within a few decades, the Asian carp population exploded across the Mississippi Basin, pushing native species to the brink. The numbers are staggering. On the Illinois River today, more than 70% of the fish biomass is Asian carp. Think about that. In a river that once supported thriving populations of bass, walleye, and catfish, 7 out of every 10 fish is now carp. That means the ecological balance has completely collapsed. Native fish starve because carp eat all the plankton. Predators can't adapt to this new species. And local fishermen, people who for generations depended on rivers for their livelihood, watch their catch vanish. And then there's the danger factor. Silver carp, in particular, have a bizarre and terrifying habit. When startled by the sound of a motor, they leap, not a gentle hop, but a violent launch 20 miles per hour, 30 pounds of muscle flying through the air. These fish hit hard enough to crack ribs, break noses, even knock people unconscious. There are stories of families out tubing, suddenly blindsided by flying fish. Videos online may look funny, but in reality, it's chaos on the water. Boats overturned, people hospitalized. This is not just an inconvenience. It's a safety hazard. So the government fought back. Millions of dollars were poured into electric barriers designed to stop carp from reaching the Great Lakes. Countless eradication campaigns were launched. Massive netting operations. Chemical treatments, even bowfishing tournaments. But every effort failed. Carp just kept spreading. Locals called them river zombies unstoppable. Everywhere, eating everything. And as frustration grew, a radical new idea began to form. If we can't kill them all, maybe We can sell them. At first, people laughed. Who in America would eat carp? The very word carp was practically an insult. Trash fish, muddy taste, full of bones. Nobody wanted them. Restaurants refused to serve them. Grocery stores wouldn't touch them. But halfway across the world, in Asia, carp was no trash fish. It was tradition. In China, carp symbolized prosperity and luck. Families served it at weddings, at New Year's feasts. So, when a Chinese company reached out to American fishermen with a simple offer, give us a container of frozen carp, cheap, clean, and uniform in size, the entire story flipped. Suddenly, what was once thrown back into the river became valuable cargo. Fishermen, who had quit, returned with new purpose. But this wasn't rod and reel fishing. This was industrial-scale harvest. In Kentucky, annual carp catches skyrocketed to more than 6,000 tons, 15 million pounds of invasive fish pulled straight out of the rivers every single year. And for the first time, invasive carp were worth real money. The mechanics of this new hunt are fascinating. Imagine a boat nearly 80 feet long. Equipped with sonar and underwater speakers, crews set out massive nets, sometimes nearly 100 feet across. Then the noise begins low. Rumbling pulses that drive carp into a frenzy. The water boils as thousands of silver bodies thrash and leap, that herded straight into the nets. Hours later, tons of fish are hauled aboard. No bait, no hooks, just pure exploitation of instinct. And states supported it. Kentucky offered subsidies. Illinois guaranteed buyback programs. Fishermen invested in bigger freezers instead of burning carp piles on the riverbank. A new profession was born: invasive fish hunting. Communities that had once watched their economies collapse now found jobs again. Boat captains who once chased catfish now proudly call themselves carp harvesters. But why stop at wild harvest? Farmers began asking, could carp be raised in controlled ponds, just like catfish or tilapia? The answer? Yes. Across Arkansas, Missouri, and Kentucky, semi-natural pond systems emerged. Large bodies of water, 3 to 5 hectares each, surrounded by barriers to prevent escape. Water cycles were carefully controlled. Carp were fed soybean meal, corn bran, fermented rice husks. Cheap, sustainable, efficient. After just 6 to 8 months, the fish reached market size. And best of all, they grew consistently, exactly what export buyers wanted. At USDA-certified facilities in Kentucky and Illinois, the processing begins. Carp arrive in massive refrigerated trucks. Workers clean, scale, fillet, and package them under strict safety standards. A 6-pound carp yields nearly 3 pounds of boneless meat. The rest isn't wasted. Collagen and oil are extracted from heads and bones. Organs are turned into pet food. Even the skin can be processed into leather-like materials. Every 20-ton container brings in between $180,000 and $220,000, with profits as high as 30%. The global appetite is huge. China craves whole fish and steaming fish heads. Vietnam and Thailand demand fish cakes and fish balls. Nigeria and Ghana prefer dried, seasoned carp. In Europe, carp is being tested in collagen powders, protein supplements, and pet nutrition. Ironically, Americans themselves still resist eating it. Despite being tested cleaner than domestic beef in some inspections, carp remains the fish nobody wants at home, even as the world eagerly buys it up. But here's the hidden benefit. Every carp exported is one less carp in the rivers, and the effect is measurable. In just 5 years, invasive carp biomass in parts of the Illinois River dropped from 70% to 45%. Native fish walleye, bass, bluegill are beginning to return. States reinvest carp profits into river restoration projects, planting water grasses, reintroducing native species, cleaning riverbanks. What began as an ecological tragedy has slowly turned into an opportunity for renewal, and communities are changing too. In Kentucky, more than 300 jobs have been created directly from the carp trade. Small river towns that once struggled now see steady income. Fishermen who once gave up their craft now work full-time again. In some states, schools even teach students about invasive carp, not just as an environmental threat, but as a case study in turning problems into profit. Still, irony lingers. Americans spend billions importing salmon, cod, tilapia, yet refuse to eat carp caught in their own backyard. Some entrepreneurs are fighting to rebrand it, calling it silverfin or Kentucky tuna, trying to break the stigma. Imagine carp tacos at food trucks, carp burgers at barbecues. Maybe, someday, the American palate will shift. For now, carp remains America's most unwanted fish. That also happens to be one of its most valuable exports. And so here we are. A fish once seen as river trash is now part of a global supply chain. From chaos to commerce, from menace to money, from ecological threat to economic engine. The Asian carp story is not just about fish, it's about resilience, adaptation, and seeing value where others only see disaster. If $1 million problem can become $1 billion industry, what other hidden opportunities are we overlooking?